We interrupt your regular broadcasting to bring you live to Manasquan, New Jersey, where presidential candidate Michael Meehan is currently making a speech. Let's listen in. My fellow Americans, the great Winston Churchill once said that now is not a time for ease and comfort. Now is a time to dare and endure. My fellow Americans, I come to you today with sobering news. We are currently in an economic crisis. We're involved in 2 foreign wars, and we have numerous domestic problems. Now is definitely a time to dare and endure. But all is not lost. I'm here to tell you, my friends, that once you vote for me to become your next president, that I will help change these things. I will help the world look again at America as an international superpower and with dignity and respect. Now to do this, I'm going to need your support. If I'm going to go to Washington and fix the economy, I'll need your support. If I'm going to fix healthcare in this country, I'll need your support. If I'm going to get us out of the Middle East wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, I'll need your support. Dwight D. Eisenhower once said that people wanted champagne and caviar when really they should have been having beer and hot dogs. Now is definitely a time to be having beer and hot dogs in this country. The stock market has been very volatile lately, as many of you know, going up and down every single day. Once elected, I hope to change that. The unemployment rate in this country is 6.1%. That's the highest it has been since 1993. The housing market also continues to worsen. There was only 403,000 houses sold last month. Compare that to 2004, when there was an average of 1,203,000 houses sold every month. But I have a plan. I'll give the average American his home back. I'm going to get him his job back. I'm going to help the average American from losing his savings. I'm going to make sure Main Street is safe from the economic fallout from Wall Street. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to accomplish this. As you know, I voted against the $700 billion bailout for Wall Street. That money is going straight to those millionaire CEOs and their companies. The only bailout I'd ever vote for is for the average American, who's only making $50,000 a year. My economic plan is tax cuts for any American making less than $250,000 annually. I propose investing in new infrastructure for this country, much like what Franklin Delano Roosevelt proposed for this New Deal. The horrific bridge collapse in Minnesota last summer illustrates the fact that this country is never at a lack for infrastructure projects. I'll allocate several public work projects throughout the country and thus keep Americans working and earning. America will bounce back from this economic crisis. We are a strong people and we've bounced back from much worse before. Most people blame this current economic crisis on the 2 wars we're involved in the Middle East. They say that it has caused a drag on the economy. Maybe they forgot how we got out of the Great Depression. We became involved in World War II. This increase in jobs and production helped us get out of the Depression. Now in this situation, I agree with many who think that the 2 wars in the Middle East are wrong and that we should bring the troops home immediately. But I do not believe that they are hurting our economy in any way. In fact, I believe the opposite. The capitalist cycle is always going into recessions. It happens every 20 years or so, and we were due for one after the boom of the 90s. But I also plan on getting us out of the wars in the Middle East. An average of 2 Americans die every day in Iraq. And so far there's been 4,188 deaths there. In Afghanistan, 625 Americans have died. My plan, once elected, is to pull 50% of our troops out of Iraq. They'll come home to their families where they belong. I will keep 25% of our troops in Iraq, though, for another year and a half to ensure that the democratically elected government functions well and that there is no terrorist threats to the country. I will send the other 25% to Afghanistan to support our troops there. My plan, hopefully, will have all troops home before the end of my first term. While on that campaign, I've heard many issues from many people, but the most common complaint I've heard, other than the economy, is the lack of healthcare in this country. I believe that all Americans should enjoy the same benefits that me and my other government employees enjoy. I believe in universal healthcare. Now, many of you might think, where am I going to get the money to do this? While also doing tax cuts. Well, the wealthiest 1% of this country will not be receiving tax cuts, and neither will large corporations whose profits have increased tenfold since this economic crisis. During my campaign, I've tried to champion the cause of every American. It's the reason I decided to run. And while that may seem like a long time ago, it was only a year ago that I announced my candidacy in Manasquan, New Jersey, my home state. Now the election is 6 days away, and I come back to you here, to my home state, to explain my plans if elected. Every vote counts, and I'm counting on your vote. If you want change in Washington, if you want new leadership, if you want everything to go back to the way it used to be, when we were looked upon with respect and dignity in the world, and our economy was great. You'll vote for me, Michael Meehan, to be the next President of the United States. Thank you and good night. Now we return to your regular broadcasting.